troops, I am going to look at a video now from a guy named Jeremy Duncan who comes from the Commons Church. It's in Canada. And when I started watching him, I've seen a few of his videos. I remember seeing him in I can't remember what the sermon was about, but I'm like, what a likable guy. I loved his presentation. He's kind of got the whole floppy long hair thing going on. So right away, I'm like, cool. But I want to use his video because for all you activists watching me, he makes a lot of statements that you will have to deal with when you talk to Christians who eat animal products. So for your outreach, we're going to touch on a few points. I hope I don't ramble off on him too much because I don't want to make this like a 3-hour video, but let's just get a look at this. And here he is, Commons Church from Canada.
This week we were looking at Romans 14, and in Romans 14, Paul is all about the meat. Now, I've never talked about why I'm a vegetarian. A lot of people know that I am, but since we're here in Romans 14, where Paul is talking about those who eat meat and those who eat only vegetables, the one whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. This is shameful stuff here. Come on, Paul, be better. And yes, I am a vegetarian, and no, I don't want to talk to you about protein, but we'll come back to this.
It's nice to know vegetarians get the same kind of grief about the protein that we vegans get. If you're a Christian and you're watching, you probably are familiar. I hope you're familiar with Romans 14, but I know a lot of my followers are atheists, so I'm going to kind of give you a little 2 minutes worth of what Romans 14 is about so that you can understand the rest of this. Okay, I want to put it in its context because it's not all about the meat. It's about what the meat represents. It's about what the meat represents. Okay, Paul, the apostle, not one of the 12, the other apostle, the apostle to the Gentiles. He is talking to the church at Rome. Now, the Gentiles were a different group than the Jews. Okay? This is at a point, there's transition going on here. It's a transitional time. The book of Acts, part of Romans, the ministry of the apostle Paul, it's at a time when the Jews and the Gentiles, who were totally separate, are finally starting to get together and do things together. And of course, when they have their style of worship and the Jews have their style of worship, they bring it in. It's like, hey, you're doing this. Hey, you're doing that. You're wrong. You're wrong. And some of them were just like, should we be doing that? Or should we be doing that? So it wasn't always a mean kind of disagreement. It might be like, what are we supposed to do? Paul is writing, and in Romans 14, trying to straighten it out. So what's the deal with the meat? Again, it's what the meat represents. In some versions, some translations, it says meat. In other translations, it says food. But usually it's going to be meat because meat is sacrificed to idols. Now, the Romans, they were sacrificing to their pagan gods. They were animal sacrifices, killing animals and sacrificing the meat to the pagan gods. But they're becoming Christians now. And Paul says, look, those pagan gods, they don't exist. Those things are just carved out of wood and stone, were made by human hands. They can't hear, they can't see, they can't poop, they can't do nothing. So eat the meat, it doesn't matter. Now, why would it matter to the Jews? Because the Jews had a custom. Like, have you ever heard, come with us, break bread? I said break, not bake. It almost sounded like, did I say bake bread? Did I? I don't want to have to rewind it. But break bread with us. In other words, have dinner with us. You see, one of the customs was when you invited somebody to sit down and have a loaf of bread with you. You break it in half. You give this guy that half, you eat that half, or whatever it may be. And you guys are united through that loaf of bread because that substance, once you ingest it, it was one, and it united you two because you both ingested it. It was just a way of showing unity, brotherhood, acceptance, and it was hospitality. Do you see what it meant? So when the Jews saw the Gentiles, who the Apostle Paul said, look, those idols don't even exist, they were eating the meat other Gentiles were sacrificing to God because they knew it meant nothing. They were strong in the faith. The Apostle Paul's like, you guys are strong. You know it means nothing. Some of these Jews, they're new converts. they're still weak in the faith and they're only eating vegetables. Why vegetables? Is it because vegetables made them weak? No, no, no. Vegetables just weren't something you offered to a god, a fake god or even a real god. You could, according to the book of Leviticus, you could do vegetables, you could do flour, you could do incense, you could do, but generally speaking, if it was an offering to a false god, it was meat. And the Jews were like, you can't eat that, you're joining to those gods. And they're like, no, we're strong. We know there is no other God but the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Jesus, that kind of thing. You see, they're like, we're strong in the faith. We know it means nothing. The guys who are weak in the faith still knew, like, yeah, well, we'll stick to the vegetables because we don't know for sure. You see, it's that transition time. They're just getting into the swing of things. This isn't a meat eater versus vegan context in any way whatsoever. It is 100% about food being offered to pagan gods. What am I saying? I'm saying Paul wasn't mocking vegetarians in Romans 14 by calling vegans weak. It wasn't, at that time, those people were eating meat. Romans 14 is addressing meat offered to idols. It's not supporting modern cruelty that we're experiencing today. Actually, later on, I think in verse 21, doesn't it say it's better not to eat meat if it causes harm? Well, that's a whole other thing. We'll get into that later on.
I thought I would take a few minutes to talk about why I've made some of the choices that I've made for myself and my family, and then maybe we can get to actually what's more important about that on the other side of it. So why am I a vegetarian? Well, there's actually a number of different reasons involved there. A number of years ago, over a decade now, we began looking at our diet as a family and some of the choices that we wanted to make. And the truth was, part of it was just around health.
Okay, health is fine, but God's compassion calls us to consider the animals too. Dairy and eggs still cause harm. Baby calves are separated from their mothers within hours of birth, and then the mothers are artificially inseminated to make them pregnant again, so they produce more milk and produce more babies, and the cycle just keeps going. Chickens, to produce eggs. Male chicks don't produce eggs. So when they hatch, it's a 50-50 split every time a chicken lays an egg, whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. A fertilized egg. I guess I need to clarify that. So if it's a boy, it's worthless, gets thrown into a macerator. What's a macerator? Think of a giant blender. It kills them really quick, but still, it kills them. So for every live chicken, one gets ground up in a blender. See, so it's not cruelty-free, the vegetarian diet at all. I'm not sure that he knows that. He's going to go on to defend vegetarian diet in a few different ways. And I think this guy's sincere. He doesn't know all the pain and suffering that's involved in the vegetarian diet. So I'm going to share that with the people watching right now. And let's go see what he says next.
A lot of evidence that most of us in North America are eating too much meat, particularly too much red meat. And I'm not great at moderation. It's just part of my personality. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram. I like to go hard into things. And so rather than cutting back on meat, I just decided to jump full in, and we went with a vegetarian diet. So part of...
Is he saying he's a victim of his own kind of personality? Well, if I said I have the kind of personality that makes me want to abuse puppy dogs, shouldn't I fight that? I mean, I don't care if it's part of my inner being, like I get some kind of excitement from it. I shouldn't give in to that. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
It was health, and I actually felt really good. It does take a bit of time for your body to adjust. And there's lots of things going on in your gut when you switch off of meat towards more beans and vegetables.
Yeah, I had that happen too. And it wasn't because my body was adjusting to beans and vegetables. It was because I really didn't know what to eat. I mean, this vegan stuff was brand new. I was being stupid. I ate a lot of pasta, a lot of bread, gained a lot of weight. Not a lot, just a few pounds. But when you're skinny like me, a few pounds is really noticeable. So I can relate to that. It doesn't happen to everybody, though. If you're thinking about going vegan, don't worry. There's plenty of information online now. Like, there probably was in my days. I just didn't have the brains to think about it. Luckily, my wife figured it out later on. But yeah, when you eat a lot of bad food, it's going to mess with your gut. I'm totally with him on this, I'm not with him on this because he's saying it was the adjusting to those foods. But see, the thing is, when you quit eating meat and you go vegetarian, a lot of people start doubling up on the cheese products. Instead of getting a meat pizza, they get a cheese pizza with a cheese crust or a double cheese this and a double. You can see you start ingesting more cheese as you eat less meat. So yeah, it's still going to mess with your gut. Mine was because I just wasn't eating right. But once I started eating full whole plant foods and I started eating them in abundance, not only did I start to feel better, my energy level went through the roof. And that's why 20 years ago, I started hitting the gym regularly, or 18 years ago now. I started hitting the gym regularly. And I mean, again, 64 years old, I'm in the gym 5, sometimes 6 days a week. 90 minutes to sometimes, like, I've been adding on an extra hour of cardio just because I like getting on the treadmill or the elliptical and watching my favorite sermons. Like I watch this guy sometimes, not a lot. I just watched him a couple times, I should say. I don't want to say sometimes because that implies a lot. I'm learning to watch how I phrase things because I know somebody's going to go, you said, oh, where am I? Let's just go back to him. But I do like to watch sermons when I'm on the elliptical. And all of a sudden, it's like an hour goes by and I'm like, oh, crud. I just wasted another 400 calories, 500 calories. I think I'll go home and have an extra slice of vegan pizza. Yeah. Typically, just because I got to put a plug in for my friend Craig over at Creation Care Church. I love watching his sermons when I'm on there. Because if I'm going real fast and jumping, he just sits there. Hi, Craig. He doesn't move around a lot. So if I lose focus, it's okay, but I still get to hear it. And I need to listen to his sermons. He does some great sermons on vegan Christian stuff. All right, back to where we were with this guy. Sorry, everybody.
But over time, you actually end up feeling really good, or at least I did, and it worked for me, so I stuck with it. But there were other reasons as well. The second factor was our carbon footprint. The production of meat takes an incredible amount of energy, an amount of water, an amount of carbon that it...
Okay, that's only half the truth there, Jeremy, because I'm looking at an Oxford study that was done in 2018. Dairy milk emits more CO2 and uses more land and water than any plant milk, eggs, carbon footprint per protein gram, bean, soy, 99% of the animal products from factory farms. Okay, there's plenty of studies. I'm just like breezing through it here, but the Oxford study in 2018, or just go check, what is the carbon footprint of a vegetarian diet compared to a vegan diet? You'll be blown away. And again, Jeremy, I know you're not watching, but if you did, I don't think you know. And to the activists watching, a lot of times you're talking to a Christian who just doesn't know. They'll listen to a guy like him because he's a pastor. He's a good, nice guy too. And, like I like him, I'm going to believe what he says. And you might be dealing with a Christian like that too. So cut us Christians a little bit of slack if we're just doing the vegetarian thing. It means we're trying to do the right thing. We just got to connect the dots to the next point. Let's go back to the video.
Produces for us to eat the kinds of meat and the levels of meat that we do. Now, that's not to say that all meat should be cut out of everyone's diet just on an environmental basis.
On an environmental basis? Yeah, it should, because we're destroying the planet. And if you look at the amount of poop that gets dumped into the oceans and onto the land, and no, we don't need that much poop for fertilizer. We don't even need poop for fertilizer at all. But if you look at how much pollution is caused by animal agriculture, yeah, we should give it up. And again, this is not for ethical reasons. This is just because it's our planet. We only got one.
There's actually some real evidence that suggests that animals raised in cooperation with crops on smaller scale farms can actually lower the overall carbon footprint.
Didn't a moment ago, was I watching another video? Was I watching another video a moment ago where they just said that there's no way we can possibly meet the demand for meat today if we raise cows, chickens, and pigs in, let's put it in quotes, the ethical way that people think we should? There just isn't enough land to provide for that. And the cost? Are you kidding? Do you know how much it would cost? People wouldn't be able to afford. Well, maybe that's a good thing. They wouldn't be able to afford. If I think I read a report that said just in America, he's Canada, but just in America, if we were to do away with the government subsidies and I've read so many different reports, but we'd be paying $25, 20 to 20. You know what? We'd be paying double, if not triple, per pound for a hamburger than what we are now. So, no, we can't do that. Come on back, Jeremy. Tell me some more good stuff.
Because grasslands tend to absorb more carbon than almost any other type of plants that can be planted on an area of land. And so actually, when you grow some crops and you cycle that around and you move herds of animals through that, those grasslands end up absorbing more carbon than is produced. So I'm not saying everyone needs to cut out meat just so you can be environmentally friendly, but again, probably most of us could stand to cut down on the amount of meat, particularly red meat, we're eating. So that's one of the reasons was environmental footprint, and we make a lot of decisions to try to do that. We live close to work, I ride my bike as much as possible. We try to make choices as a family.
You know, when he said rides his bike as much as possible, it reminds me of that clip in Cowspiracy where he talks about how worthless taking shorter showers and riding your bike is compared to just giving up one cheeseburger. Interesting. I don't know if he ever saw that documentary, Cowspiracy. And if you're an activist and you haven't seen it, go see it. I need to watch it again because I don't have enough of it memorized. It was so long ago I saw it, and I know there's so many statistics in there are very, very good. Great ammunition for vegan outreach.
Family that lower our impact on the environment around us. So that's the second one. The third one is large-scale industrial farming. I really don't have a problem with the idea of humans hunting, the idea of humans eating meat, but as our large-scale agriculture,
I do have a problem with humans hunting, and because killing animals is not necessary. There are millions and tens of millions throughout all time, millions of vegans who are living long, healthy lives without any meat products. So it's all unnecessary killing. All the killing of animals for ethical meat is unnecessary, which thereby makes it unethical. You're killing just for your own taste pleasure. Can a Christian really do that? God's plan in Genesis 1:29 was a vegan diet, not whatever you like and end an animal's life. It's just, no, I can't agree with him on that one. You and I differ on that. What do you got for me next?
Culture has moved into the production of meat. I think what we have to recognize here is that the mistreatment of animals has become epidemic in North American culture. Animals are not treated well, they're not looked after, they are being abused for our diets, and we are.
He knows it. See, he knows it, but he's not making the connection that they're still abused and tortured in the creation of his diet. I don't know if he's aware of everything cows and chickens go through to make the milk, eggs, and cheese that he consumes. Maybe he does.
Able to keep that at a distance from us. Most of us never actually see an animal slaughtered. Most of us never actually see an animal being butchered before we receive it, all cut up and nicely, neatly packaged for us. And I think that's a real problem. When we don't understand what goes into the meat that we eat, when we don't understand how it's produced, how it's slaughtered, how it's packaged, how it's moved towards us, I think we are distancing ourselves from a lot of that suffering.
I think he's distanced himself from the suffering that cows go through to make baby cows so that he can get milk. It's amazing. It was just this year, a woman that was in her 70s that didn't understand that cows have to be pregnant to give milk. I mean, cows just don't run around in the field and give milk. They are artificially inseminated. What does that mean? That means human beings come into physical contact with animal genitalia. The Bible would call that bestiality. And then they forcefully impregnate an animal. A lot of Christians you talk to, you could say that's raping an animal. A lot of Christians just will not make that connection. So I would say sexually molest. If you're an activist and you're saying this, say, using methods of bestiality, they are sexually molesting cows to get them pregnant over and over. That's a much more powerful way to phrase it when you're talking to a Christian. You can say rape, it ain't going to work. It's going to upset them, but it's not going to upset them to where they think about it. It's going to upset them to where they want to fight about it. I really encourage people. I agree. It is rape. It is forcible impregnation. It is forcible sexual activities. But to say sexual, what the heck was that, the word I just used? Manipulation, sexual. To say it like that is going to get you much farther in your vegan outreach than just to accuse people of rape. Well, which is something Jeremy here doesn't quite understand. He doesn't get that that's what cows have to go through. So they got to get pregnant to produce milk. I got off on my subject. I was talking about how to defend it, how to advocate, excuse me. I wasn't trying to punch the camera. It's just my bracelets were falling down. And I went like that to get them. Unnecessary conversation I just had there, isn't it? So I don't think he's aware that cows have to go through that. And now when a cow has a baby, it's like any other mammal. It wants the baby to nurse from it. But if the baby cow gets the milk, Jeremy here won't get the milk. Or Jeremy here won't get the cow's milk for his cheese and the milk products that he, as a vegetarian, consumes. So what do they do with the baby cow? Well, if it's a boy, it goes into a veal crate and killed after just a few months, or maybe even killed the next day, because they don't want that baby to drink up all the money, all that milk, because that's money to the farmer. So when he says a lot of people have never been on a farm or a slaughterhouse and seen the process, I think he's kind of guilty of what he's saying there himself. Right, back to what we're doing.
Now, you can buy meat from smaller scale local farms, particularly here in Alberta.
You can buy meat from smaller scale farms, but it's still going to end up going to a slaughterhouse. It's still going to end up being killed when it doesn't need to get killed. It's being killed because of our gluttonous desire for its flesh, our gluttonous desire for its secretions. Don't get frustrated.
It's actually really easy to get very ethical meat. I know a lot of people are hunters. It's not
easy to get. Because, I mean, think about it. What is ethical? What is ethical meat? Let's say a cow raised on a free-range farm. Does the cow really get to experience all the experiences that God wanted that animal to have? No, it's fed all kinds of stuff to make it grow bigger, faster, and fatter, so that it becomes more profitable. No, it's not easy.
Really my issue at all, but I'm not interested in doing all that. I have no interest in hunting. It's not something that I find appealing at all. And so for me, actually stepping away from meat as an industry, particularly again, that large scale agriculture, that was something that I felt good about because I didn't want to participate in animal suffering.
He says he doesn't want to participate in animal suffering. Yet when he buys milk and he buys cheese and he buys eggs, he's participating in animal suffering the same way I described. Let's talk about eggs for a second. When God made chickens, the original form of the chicken, not the genetically manipulated Frankenstein chicken that we have right now. Okay, people say we eat Frankenstein meats with our Beyond Burgers and Impossible Burgers. No, your chicken is a Frankenstein. It is nowhere near the way God made it to be. And when God created chickens, they would lay eggs about once a month. And it's not a pleasant activity. It doesn't feel good. Think about any time a woman has a period, okay? It's similar. It's not fun. But through genetic manipulation, chickens lay an egg every day. In the wild, originally it would have been once a month, maybe 2 or 3 in a small clutch every few months. That would be normal, but we've totally rewired the chicken. So now they're going through that pain and that misery every day. And come on, it comes out of a bird's butthole. You know, birds have one hole. They pee through it, they poo through it, and they give their eggs through it. Why do we want to eat what comes out of it? It's like, you ever watch an egg come out of a chicken's butt? That's disgusting. That's nasty. I can't believe I ate that at one time. Man, when I was ignorant, I cut myself some slack. But once I saw it, I'm like, oh, that crap's nasty.
Again, it's not the same for everyone. Everyone makes different choices around that. I think you can actually access really good ethical meat, particularly here in Alberta. But
ethical meat. He believes the lie. That's the problem. He's been lied to and he believes it, just like many of us Christians that you activists talk to. We've been handed a lie and we believe it. We believe it because we want to believe it, because that thing that comes out of a bird's butthole can taste good when you scramble it and add some onions and green peppers and chopped up bacon. And oh yeah, I remember how much I used to like that. Now I can't do it because I know the pain and the horrendous suffering animals go through. So even if I like it, I won't go back to it. I do kind of remember what it tastes like, but I got to tell you, the alternatives that we have for it, I'm just as happy. I don't even miss the other stuff. And I mentioned the Impossible Burger. I haven't had a single one this year. I do get the Chipotle black bean burgers, much healthier. You know, when you eat food a lot, you develop a taste for it. When you don't eat food a lot, you lose your taste for it. Okay, back to...
I wasn't interested in doing all that work, so I stepped out of it. Now, the last one is this, and it comes from my faith. And again, I don't think that every Christian needs to make the same decisions that I do, but I really do believe in a future that one day all of us will be able to live at peace with each other. And the prophet Isaiah talks about the day when the little lamb will lie down with the lion and the child with the cobra.
He's talking about Isaiah's vision, and I agree. Let's all live and let live, and let's all be together. But dairy cows losing their calves the day they're born, hens in cages that are so small that they can't even open up the wings that God gave them, that's not living and let living. That's not working towards a future where we all live together peacefully in harmony. No, that's us using our dominion for domination. Evil domination. Slaughtering cows at 4 to 5 years old is definitely not a peaceful future.
Will be a moment in the future when we do not need to victimize each other to coexist. And I think that if I have the opportunity to live in that way, where I don't have to contribute to the suffering of another human, I don't have to contribute to the suffering of any animal, then I want to live in that future right now. Now again, I have the privilege of doing that. I live in Canada, I'm relatively wealthy, I can access all kinds of healthy foods whenever I want to. I can get an avocado, I can eat almonds whenever I want. All of these things are accessible to me because of my privilege. But because I have that, I have the opportunity to live where no one else, nothing else have to die, then I choose to do that. So this is something that's really important to me. For all of these reasons, for my health, I feel good on a vegetarian diet. I get to reduce my carbon footprint for myself and my family on a vegetarian diet. I don't participate in large-scale industrial agriculture where I feel like animals are being mistreated or abused. Because of my vegetarian diet and because of my Christian faith, I get to lean into an eschatological future where I really do hope and believe that one day there will be no more suffering and death. And so for all of these reasons, I make all of these choices, but here's the point I really want to get to. And it's the one that I think Paul is really trying to reinforce in Romans 14. We actually need to not enforce our choices on another. Paul actually
not enforce our choices on another. He's breaking it down to a dietary choice. It's not a dietary choice. It's vegans saying to meat eaters, the products you're eating come from animal abuse, suffering, unimaginable horror. Stop. It's not a matter of who's your favorite band, what's your favorite color, are you on the keto diet? Christians will constantly try and break it down to a diet, and it's not just a dietary choice. The umbrella of veganism covers so many things. We don't go to rodeos. We don't wear fur. We don't wear wool. We don't eat animal products. We don't do this. But the Christian also have to add under that umbrella morals. Morally, we can't do something like this to God's creation. Focus on veganism is not a diet.
says near the end of the chapter, whatever you think about these things, learn to keep it between yourself and God. It's not my job all the time to project my convictions and my choices onto everyone around me. Now, when I know someone, when they invite me to share my story and
Okay, sometimes that kind of falls into the category of legalism. Like, you can do this, you can't do that, you can do this, you can't do that, don't. It was a list of rules that they were fighting against, and that isn't. That is just simply, if you know to do good and you choose not to do it, then it's sin. That's James chapter 4. Vegans are challenging Christians who ignore their moral duty to do good when they know what they're doing is evil. It's not a matter of legalism, which is kind of what he's stepping into here, I think.
Why I've made the choices that I have, then I get to share that in humility. I get to share my story with them, and they may be influenced by that. But my goal here in this video, my goal in life, is not to convert anyone to the way of a vegetarian diet. I'm not really interested in that. I do think we need to be more thoughtful about it.
I wonder why he wouldn't be interested in convincing people about a vegetarian diet. Because he just listed many reasons why he's vegetarian. Better for the planet, better for his health, better for the animals. Why wouldn't he want that for everybody? If it's better for the planet, why would he not say something when somebody's harming the planet? If it's better for your health, why would he not say something when people are gluttonously eating stuff that's destroying their health? I mean, if I do remember reading one study where they're saying 70% of all hospital visits are because of people's lifestyle choices, their diet, and their lack of exercise. I'm sure smoking and drinking fall into that, so maybe we can't say all 70%, but you get the idea. Why wouldn't a Christian who knows the evil that other people are doing want to call to their attention and say, you need to get out of this? It's not an opinion. Destroying the planet is a bad thing. That's not an opinion. Killing animals unnecessarily is a bad thing. Is that an opinion? I think that's to me, that's gospel.
Our choices when it comes to what we purchase and what we eat and where we source our food from. But all of us are going to do that in different ways. And when we learn how to not just tolerate each other, but respect each other, to learn from each other, to take in the stories around us, I think what will happen.
If I bring to a Christian's attention the things that I just discussed, the suffering that animals go through, the death, the bestiality, all this stuff, and they still continue to do it, I don't think God wants me really to respect their choice. You know, I can respect them as a person, of course, but not every decision they make deserves respect.
Is we will end up with a more well-rounded imagination of our place in the world. None of us have a monopoly on God. We all see a very narrow slice of the divine through our experience. But when I am willing to listen to the people around me, when I am willing to listen and learn from hunters in my community that tell me about how important it is for them to be in touch with the land, in touch with the animals that they consume, I learn something about that. And I come closer to a more robust, a more well-rounded.
Learning about the animals you consume, I mean, when I learn about an animal, the last thing I want to do is kill it. If I make friends, can you say make friends with a cow? If I make a relationship with a cow, I'm like, well, I've come closer to this animal, so now I really want to kill it. I don't get that. One more final thought on respect before he goes further is, respect is good, but silence in the face of injustice. Even the prophets spoke out and made people upset. When the prophets came in and said, quit worshiping these false gods, would he say, you prophets should mind your own business and respect their choice? No. So, okay, here I am getting off on the respect thing. Get back to our program.
Imagination of God. And this is what Paul really wants to get at here in this chapter when he talks about those who eat meat and those who don't. It's the idea that we need to learn from each other. And to do that, we need to listen to each other. And to do that, we need to fully accept each other. Without qualification, we need to allow stories that don't align with ours into our lives. Because a life lived exclusively in the company of like-minded people will be very limited. But when I'm willing to listen, when I'm willing to learn, when I'm willing to invite new stories and perspectives into my life and way of thinking, I will find myself a more healthy, more well-rounded, more robust, more sacred version of myself. So if you eat meat, enjoy it. Find out where it comes from. Think about how you can source it.
If you eat meat, enjoy it. Again, we're ignoring that an animal was killed. So can a Christian really say, if you enjoy products made from the death of God's creation, enjoy it? I just can't see it that way. I mean, I did. I kind of understand why he's saying it, but the evidence is there. I hope this guy does some Google search on what that is. I did notice in his comments section, a couple people bringing to his attention the suffering that animals go through for the milk, eggs, and cheese industry, and he shined it off. So maybe he's feeling convicted and his cognitive dissonance will not allow it. I don't know.
Ethically, but enjoy it, celebrate that as the goodness of the creation God has placed around you. And if you are
Celebrate it as the goodness of creation God has put around you. Celebrate the beauty that God has given you by killing it. Celebrate the beauty of an animal and all its majesty by killing it. Celebrate the motherhood of a cow and a calf by killing the baby. Celebrate the death of a chicken that had its babies taken away too, so you could eat those babies. You know, when the Bible talks about God's love, it uses a chicken as an example. That God would want to put his arms around you the way a mother hen protects his baby chicks. That's how important motherhood is to a chicken. But to this guy, with what he just said, if I apply what he just said, it's like, take that protective instinct and kill it, because you get something to eat out of it. That is gluttony, man. That's just selfish gluttony.
A vegetarian that I'm cheering you on, we can share some recipes. I am always looking for something new that I can try to cook this week. But regardless, the goal is this, that we learn to accept one another, we learn to celebrate one another, we learn to learn.
Would you say accept one another if they were doing something else that's sinful? Like, I don't know what he would consider sinful. Let's just say some guy who beats his children. Would you accept him, or would you say you need to stop? Would you say you need to slow down? No, you'd say you need to stop. Why is it this one thing, animal abuse, gets totally ignored and we're told to accept it by well-meaning pastors like him? We're told to ignore it because we like the way it tastes. I liked it. That's why I said at the beginning, I liked this guy. And I'm not saying he's bad. I think he doesn't see what I'm discussing here. In his head, it's just, there's like a blocking. It's like something stopping him from making the connection.
From each other, and in that, we learn more about this God who loves us so deeply.
Well, I'm done with this. Boy, I took his 10-minute video and turned it into almost an hour of me babbling. I hope that for you activists out there, you heard how I handle some of the things Christians say about eating animals. And as for this guy, Jeremy, I mean, I appreciate his heart for health. I appreciate his concerns for creation care. But the truth is, vegetarianism still causes animal suffering and environmental harm through the egg and dairy industries. When killing is avoidable And there is no need in the human body to eat any animal product whatsoever. So when killing it is avoidable, there's no such thing as ethical killing. God's original plan was vegan. God's end plan in heaven will be vegan. I don't know why anybody will say, since sin and death entered the world, we can use that now to cause additional death. Animal abuse is sin. Scripture calls us to look not only at our own interest, but at the interest of others. And others does include animals. Not in every verse, but think about it. In Genesis, Hosea, and I'm skipping my mind on the other book, God makes covenants with animals. Animals are so important that God makes solemn promises to them. But for some reason, we think animals don't matter, that they're nothing more than an item, a dietary choice. They're living, breathing, sentient beings that God gave desires to. And to deny animals all those things that God gave them, that's animal abuse. He talked earlier about he's privileged. I'm privileged. A lot of us are. We live in a time where we can thrive without exploiting or killing animals. We have privilege. A lot of people don't. If I was living in some country where there's nothing but starvation everywhere you look, and you're eating cockroaches or rats or what, this isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about the people watching these YouTube channels and things like that. We have so much privilege. We can get food that doesn't hurt animals, that doesn't destroy our planet, that doesn't cause unnecessary suffering. We should use that privilege and take advantage of those options, because it means we will reflect God's image in this world. God created, he didn't destroy. Oh, well. Enough of that. I need to get off this thing now, and I got a busy night ahead of me. I am going to a vegan pool party. Did I say that like a couple weeks ago in one of my videos? I think so. We have a lot of fun vegan parties. We do. It's like here in Vegas, we got several groups of vegans. What am I saying? We just love to get together to where we don't have to worry about non-vegans saying, where do you get your protein? Like this guy said at the beginning. Or, you can't live like that, or, the stupid things. I look forward to those times. It's just a chance where I get to just relax and breathe. Veganism, it's so easy. It only becomes a chore when I have to deal with stuff like this. But that's the cross that I'm willing to bear, because I feel that's where God's leading me. To my activists who tuned in, if you sat with me for this whole, what is this going to be, 50 minutes so far or something like that? I hope you learned something. I hope some of this was usable. I should have a sip of water. My throat's going. But I hope you find some of this usable. I'll do another one, I think, later on this week. But pool party night. Bye, all.